Curse of the Mummy lost treasures of Egypt for centuries. The deserts of Egypt have guarded secrets buried beneath golden sands. The land of pharaohs, pyramids, and gods has always fascinated the world and terrified it. Among the myths and mysteries whispered through time, one stands above the rest. The Curse of the Mummy. It is a tale that blends ancient superstition, modern discovery, and inexplicable death. The haunting story of what happens when the living dare to disturb the eternal sleep of the dead. Our journey begins not in the shadows of ancient tombs, but in the bright light of discovery, the early 20th century, when archaeology was in its golden age. Adventurers, scholars, and treasure seekers scoured Egypt's Valley of the Kings, searching for the untouched resting place of a long-forgotten ruler, Tutankhamun the Boy King. In 1922, after years of fruitless digging, British archaeologist Howard Carter and his patron, Lord Carnarvon, were on the brink of giving up. Funds were running low, and hope was fading fast. But on November 4th, Carter's team uncovered a step hidden beneath the sand, the first of many leading to a sealed doorway bearing the royal cartouche of Tutankhamun. It was the discovery of a lifetime, an intact tomb, untouched by grave robbers, filled with treasures beyond imagination. Gold, alabaster, jewels, and artifacts crafted with divine precision lay preserved for over 3,000 years. But when Carter finally broke the seal and peered into the darkness with a candle, he whispered the immortal words, "Yes, wonderful things." The world rejoiced at the find, but in the shadows, something else stirred a darker narrative. Not long after entering the tomb, Lord Carnarvon fell ill. What began as a minor infection from a mosquito bite turned into blood poisoning. On April 5, 1923, he died in Cairo, and at that exact moment, the lights in the city reportedly went out. Thousands of miles away, his dog, in England, let out a mournful howl and died the same night. The newspapers seized the story. Headlines screamed of Pharaoh's curse and vengeance from the tomb. Soon, rumors spread that anyone who dared to disturb the resting place of the young pharaoh would meet a dreadful fate. Carnarvon's death was only the beginning. Within months, several other members of the expedition died under mysterious or tragic circumstances. A radiologist who had examined the mummy died suddenly. A wealthy collector who purchased artifacts from the site met an untimely end. Even a relative of Carteret was said to have fallen ill and died after visiting the tomb. Coincidence? Or something far more sinister? The legend of the mummy's curse spread like wildfire. It captured the imagination of the public, feeding fears of ancient magic and divine retribution. Egyptologists scoffed, calling it mere superstition. Scientists pointed to bacteria and ancient toxins sealed within the tombs, but others believed the Egyptians had harnessed powers modern science could never explain. After all, the ancient Egyptians were masters of the afterlife. Their understanding of death, resurrection, and spiritual protection was unparalleled. They believed that the soul, or Ka, required the body to remain intact for eternity. Tombs were sealed not just to preserve riches, but to safeguard the essence of the deceased. Hieroglyphs on many tomb walls carried Chilean warnings. Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king. Was it merely poetic deterrence to keep thieves away, or something more literal? Even Howard Carter, though skeptical of curses, kept a canary during the excavation. The bird was said to have been killed by a cobra, a symbol of divine protection in ancient Egypt. To the workers, it was a sign that the spirits had been angered. Still, Carter lived for many years after the discovery, dismissing the curse as media hysteria. But skeptics struggled to explain the eerie chain of coincidences surrounding those who entered the tomb or handled its treasures. In later decades, scientists examined the theory of biological curses. When a tomb is sealed for thousands of years, it becomes a capsule, a perfect environment for bacteria, molds, and ancient spores. Some researchers proposed that these microorganisms could have caused respiratory illnesses or infections among the excavators. Others suggested exposure to toxic gases, such as formaldehyde or ammonia, used during mummification. Yet, many of the deaths attributed to the curse defied such logic, delayed by years, striking individuals who were far removed from Egypt. The idea of the mummy's curse transcended archaeology. It entered popular culture, inspiring novels, films, and plays. In 1932, Universal Studios released The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff, cementing the image of a reanimated mummy seeking vengeance. From 10 on, Egypt was not just the cradle of civilization, but the birthplace of supernatural terror. But beyond Hollywood and headlines lies a deeper truth, one that reveals how ancient Egyptians viewed the sacred balance between life and death. To them, death was not the end. It was a transformation, a journey through the underworld, guided by divine forces toward eternal life. To ensure safe passage, they filled tombs with amulets, scrolls, and treasures, tools to help the spirit navigate the dangers of the Duat, the realm of the dead. Each object had a purpose. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells written on papyrus, instructed the deceased on how to face the gods, overcome trials, and achieve immortality. The heart's seat of emotion and conscience was weighed against the feather of truth by the god Anubis. A heart heavy with sin would doom the soul to annihilation. Perhaps the curse was never a punishment, but a defense. A spiritual firewall meant to protect the sanctity of the tomb and the peace of the departed. Even today, some modern archaeologists report strange sensations in ancient burial sites. A heavy atmosphere, a sudden chill, or the feeling of unseen eyes watching. The rational mind dismisses it as suggestion, but deep down, part of us still wonders if something ancient and powerful lingers there. As decades passed, other tombs and mummies were discovered, many accompanied by their own eerie stories. In 1971, the mummy of Ramses II, one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, was flown to Paris for restoration. It was given a passport listing its occupation as king deceased. During transport, a sandstorm swept across Cairo, grounding planes for hours, until the mummy's flight departed. To the locales. It was as if the skies themselves bowed to the pharaoh's passage. Another unsettling tale involves the unlucky mummy, a beautifully painted coffin lid now, housed in the British Museum. For over a century, it has been blamed for accidents, shipwrecks, and even the sinking of the Titanic, though the artifact was never actually aboard the ill-fated ship. Stories persisted as if the legend itself had a life of its own. Such tales endure because they tap into something primal humanity, as fear of death and the unknown. Ancient Egypt, with its vast necropolises and towering monuments, stands as a mirror to that fear. It reminds us that time cannot conquer the mystery of mortality. For the ancient Egyptians, curses were not evil spells, but sacred oaths, protections against desecration. The pharaoh was not a mere ruler. He was a living god. To disturb his tomb was not only theft, but sacrilege. And yet, despite the warnings, the allure of gold, glory, and knowledge proved irresistible. Every artifact unearthed tells a story, not just of kings and queens, but of priests, artisans, and builders who believed their work bridged the mortal and divine. A single scarab amulet could symbolize rebirth. A golden mask could grant immortality. A statue of Osiris could ensure resurrection. When Howard Carter first gazed upon Tutankhamun's golden funerary mask, he wasn't just looking at a relic, he was staring into the eyes of eternity. Crafted with perfection, the mask was meant to preserve the boy king's spirit and connect him to the gods. Its inscription reads, "Your right eye is the night, your left eye is the day. You are the perfect soul who sails across the sky for eternity." To disturb such divine rest, perhaps, is to invite imbalance, a violation of cosmic order. The ancient Egyptians called this mat the principle of harmony and justice. When broken, chaos, or his feet followed. Could the so-called curse be an echo of this cosmic retribution? A reminder that Mat must always be restored. Even modern Egyptologists approach tombs with reverence, not out of fear of curses, but respect for the culture that built them. The grandeur of the pyramids, the intricate hieroglyphs, and the mummies themselves testify to an unshakable belief in the afterlife. One so powerful, it still haunts our imagination thousands of years later. In 2002, researchers opened a sealed sarcophagus in Saqqara believed to date back to the 26th dynasty. Cameras captured every moment. As the lid lifted, a foul odor filled the air, the first breath of a tomb untouched for over 2 millennia. Some of the team reported nausea and dizziness afterward, while others insisted it was just the stifling desert heat. But when a senior member of the crew died a few weeks later, whispers of the curse returned. The rational mind rejects such connections. Yet, in a land where myth and reality are inseparable, even scientists find themselves humbled by mystery. The curse of the mummy is more than a legend. It is a story about boundaries, the line between reverence and curiosity, faith and arrogance, life and death. Every generation that digs into Egypt's past must confront this boundary anew. Today, artifacts from Tutankhamun's tomb tour the world, drawing millions to gaze upon relics once hidden in eternal darkness. They remind us of humanity's timeless desire to touch the past, to uncover what was lost, to understand what we were never meant to see. And yet, as each artifact travels under bright museum lights, one cannot help but wonder, do they still carry the presence of the ancient world? Tutankhamun's treasures were meant for eternity, not exhibition. His tomb was a carefully designed microcosm of the afterlife, every symbol in perfect alignment. By moving those pieces, we disrupt that order. However unintentionally. Perhaps that is the true nature of the curse, not a spell cast in vengeance, but the inevitable consequence of disturbing a delicate balance, a spiritual echo that ripples across time, reminding the living of their limits. For all our science and technology, Egypt still holds mysteries we cannot decode. Beneath the sands lie countless tombs, yet undiscovered, silent, waiting, patient. Each one a sealed doorway to another time, another soul, another story. The curse endures because it speaks to something eternal, our fascination with what lies beyond death. It is both a warning and a mirror. A warning that not all treasures are meant to be unearthed, and a mirror reflecting our unending hunger for immortality. In the end, the mummy's curse may not be about vengeance at all. It may be about respect, a lesson whispered through the ages by those who believed death was merely the next great journey. The sands of Egypt shift endlessly, but beneath them, the kings still sleep. Their hearts weighed, their souls judged, their stories written in stone. And as long as the desert wind howls through the Valley of the Kings, the legend of the curse and the lost treasures of Egypt will live on. Because some mysteries were never meant to be solved, and some kings were never meant to be disturbed.